Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another weekend workshop. We're so excited that you have joined us today on what is a hot and humid day in August. If you are listening from some point in the future in the winter, then you missed out on this very hot and humid day. So I hope that you're having a great day wherever you're tuning in from. So if everyone just wants to mute themselves to start off the workshop, just to make sure there's no ambient noise in the background that might interrupt the speaker as she gets started. We are excited to have Dionne Baker back by popular demand, and she's going to be diving into another great topic today, which is how to create your own online membership group. But let me just introduce myself. If you don't know me, I'm Carrie Ramsey, and I'm the project manager for the Weekend Project, which is led by Queen's University and is funded by FedDev Ontario through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. And it's great to be back here because we actually have been meeting almost consistently once a week this summer. And so I know many of you have been in our workshops before, but if you haven't, welcome. You are always welcome to join us. And it's so great to have you here. I'm continuing to let people in from the waiting room if you see my eyes darting about madly. So as we get started, I know that there are folks from around the world that are joining us today, as well as in Ontario, where I'm based. Why don't you take a moment in the Zoom chat to let us know where you're connecting from? And if you have a business, by all means, drop in a link, whether it's to your LinkedIn profile or your website, your social media, just give us a point of connection so that perhaps people can follow you where you're at. One of the great things about these sessions, of course, as I always say, is that they're not only learning opportunities, they're also networking opportunities. So please do go ahead and be lively in the Zoom chat. While you're doing that, I'll take a moment to acknowledge that I am connecting to this workshop from the Bay of Quinte region, which is the ancestral territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And you know that I love to do a land acknowledgement here at the beginning of all of our workshops. And I try to mix it up just a little bit. I don't like to read from a script, as you know. So I wanted to share with you today an Indigenous-owned business which sent me something in the mail yesterday. And actually, Chantel, you're on the call today, and I know you got something from this same company this week because I saw it on your social media. So Chantel and I ordered these Every Child Matters t-shirts, which are available through She Native Goods. And I'm going to put the link to that Canadian Indigenous-owned business in the Zoom chat. They have some pretty amazing products, including these shirts. And I did want to point out that the reason that I and others have picked them up is because September 30th is Orange Shirt Day. So there's nothing worse than finding out on the day of the event that, oh, it's Orange Shirt Day and I don't have an orange shirt. So we have enough of a lead up at the moment that if you want to get an orange shirt for Orange Shirt Day and support an Indigenous woman-owned business, then check out She Native Goods, and I will post a link to them in the chat in just a couple of moments. So, and by the way, Orange Shirt Day is all about recognizing and acknowledging the truth and reconciliation that we're all a part of here on Turtle Island, as well as beyond. And the fact that we're remembering the children who were part of the residential school system. And so, of course, many of those atrocities uncovered just this year in Canada, which, as we know, Indigenous people have been aware of for generations. So I do want to hold space and acknowledge that today. So thank you for those who are connecting in the Zoom chat. It's so great to have everyone with us today. I don't want to take up any more time. Dion, I know you were already introduced in the bio of this event, and I'm sure you'll hit on some of the points of your career, or at least your involvement with creating membership groups and other digital products. It is so great to have you back. I will pass you now the virtual microphone. And thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you, Dion.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. So we're going to hop really quickly into the content. I like to keep a lot of the trainings that I do really jam-packed because I want it to be as meaningful and good for anybody who's watching as it can be. So I'm a firm believer in really kind of putting in a lot of content. There are going to be slides that are kind of built into the content that are designed for you to be interactive. So you can type in your answers either in the chat, or if I ask you to unmute yourself, feel free to do that and we can discuss live. And then I guess right now I'll just explain to you why I know what I know and how I'm basically qualified to teach you. So basically, I am Dionne Baker. I have been running e-commerce websites for a very long time in the digital space. Way back when, I want to say probably early 2007, actually, I had found myself just a little bit unhappy with where I was, not necessarily in my career, but where I was with my area of focus, right? So I was spending a lot of time working. I was bringing a lot of work home with me. And as a little bit of a workaholic, I was finding I didn't really love that blend. So I thought, well, why not try to create something that is my own that will at least take up some of my time so that I'm not having to bring all of this work home or I have an excuse not to, right? So way back then, I actually taught myself how to code. I got a lot of books. It wasn't nearly as easy as it is today, and launched my first website. It didn't do amazingly, but then I had learned enough that by the time I launched my second website, I had basically people coming in from day one to purchase things off of that site. Fast forward a few years, and here I am getting a lot of requests from people asking me, well, how did you have that kind of success? How were you able to grow so quickly? How did people find your business? And can you help me? And so I thought, you know what, the easiest way to help people is to kind of show them exactly what I did, teach them the things that I have learned, and hopefully save them a little bit of time, because it took me a lot of time and a lot of trial and error and mistakes in order to learn all of those lessons. So hopefully save them a little bit of time on their own personal journeys. So that morphed very quickly into me creating online courses and putting those online courses up where people would be able to purchase them, or some of them are even just for free, because I thought, hey, if you can learn this, you can actually start to figure out how to learn all of the other pieces on your own. And then from there, we started to do some membership groups, because people wanted to learn directly at point in time as opposed to pre-recorded videos or self-directed courses. And so everything has kind of evolved from that initial place of starting out by just wanting to find something else to do in my evenings other than bring my work home with me. So traditionally, my career was in marketing, communications, and advertising. So the last corporate job I had was actually at General Motors in their headquarters in their marketing department. And then I had left that career to basically pursue these online e-commerce streams of business that I have created. So this is why I know so much about how to create all of these wonderful things. I've been doing this a long time. I've had thousands of students come through my online courses, thousands of students actually sign up to membership programs that we run. And so we're going to hop right into the content. I'm going to teach you as much as I can in the remaining amount of time. So just a first kind of thing, I always like to say, I don't know how much money you're going to make basically selling trainings, courses, or other knowledge-based materials online. A lot of people who go through courses or who go through trainings don't actually make any money. And it's not because of anything wrong with the course, the training that they've taken. It's mostly that no course or training is going to guarantee you income or sales. What determines your success is the work that you do after the training ends and how well you implement or take action against the things that somebody has taught you, right? So in today's training, we are going to learn how to differentiate between popular content management systems that people use to host their courses or their membership groups. We're going to determine the action steps you need to take in starting your membership site. We're going to develop a step-by-step outline for marketing your membership offers. And we're going to manage your expectations as you combine these subscription-based business models for success, okay? So before we start, I always say it's an interactive training. Comments and participation will get people who stay until the end a chance to win a 30-minute consultation call with me where we can talk one-on-one about what your specific individual goals are as it relates to memberships or really anything e-commerce that you might want to ask me. And so we're just going to hop in here. The 5 things that I want you to have planned out in advance are as follows. Before you even start, you kind of need to know who it is that you're making your group for, right? And I always say you need to know basically why the people in this group would be interested in the things that you have to offer. Where do those people hang out? And if you already have relationships with people in that subset or that audience that you're trying to attract. Okay. The second thing that you want to have planned is what your offer is. So what will somebody get when they become a subscriber or a member of your group? So you want to kind of break this down into a very easy, digestible thing that you can speak to people or that you can put on your website. And I usually say, we just kind of want to have a value proposition that sits at the very top of your website and is repeated throughout, whether that's a landing page or whatever it might be, in order to make sure that it's as clear as possible what the end result is that people are hoping to achieve by coming into your group. Okay. You also want to have what I call a minimum viable product. So it's the basic service offering, or it's the basic membership site that you can start with without all the added bells and whistles, right? You want to have this minimum viable product, and you want to kind of know what elements need to be inside of that product in order to get started. You'll want to research platforms, or softwares, right? So if you're super tech savvy, you already maybe have built your own website, or you've had a website for a while on a content management system like WordPress. So you know bits and pieces, probably enough to kind of fix little errors that pop up and things like that. And your intention is to just add in a plugin that's going to run your membership site on your WordPress. You want to look at, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that plugin do? What are all the little bells and whistles and features that come along with it, and how much it costs, right? Otherwise, you'll be looking at what are called services as software models, where you're purchasing a subscription to host your course content and materials on one of the learning management or content management systems designed to do this. And we are going to get into all of this in a little bit more detail. So don't feel too afraid right now if you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what all these things are. We're going to go through these in a bit more detail. But at the end of the day, you'll want to kind of research some of these platforms to make sure that you choose the right platform for you and whatever your plan is for the longevity of your site. Okay. And then the last thing is you need to kind of plan out how you're going to present your offer to the audience and what will make it stand out. So this is how you're going to market whatever your group might be. We're going to take a bit of a deeper dive on each one of these steps. And again, so 2 slides ago, I said I wanted this training to be interactive. And so I've kind of built this training this time to be more so like a collaboration in a sense. We're going to look at how together we could create a membership site today. And we're going to discuss some of the pros and cons, or some of the tips that will help to kind of solidify some of these concepts that I'm teaching, okay? So just be prepared to type out your answers in the chat or unmute yourself if I ask you to share your ideas. So step 1 here is finding the audience, right? So the easiest way to find an audience for your membership group is to actually figure out what group is having a problem, like what large group of people has a problem that you can solve, right? So that in a nutshell is basically the easiest way. So if you're a career coach, obviously maybe you're targeting women, right, who want to transition in their careers. Well, what's the problem that those people are trying to solve? There's a gap between where they are and where they want to be, right? They're maybe feeling stuck or stagnant in a career path or an industry that they want to get out of, and they don't quite know exactly how to get into the next area or phase of their life that they're hoping to kind of move forward with. So a few examples of this are new business owners not knowing how to generate leads for their business, women feeling stuck in their careers who are looking to change jobs or industries, or even folks looking to make a lasting change in their physique, right? So these are just examples of different audiences. So using the first example, if we're talking about new business owners not knowing how to generate leads in their business, and you are the service provider who's going to teach them this in a membership group platform, where could we find new business owners online? Just go ahead and type it into the chat for me. So somebody says Facebook, which is a great one. Anybody else? Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook groups. So yeah, these are a lot of great ways to find where people are online. Chantel says professional associations groups, that's great. Networking groups, yellow pages. Yeah, so all of these areas are where you would find new business owners online. If you're also kind of thinking a little bit more deeply about, okay, specific to your area, maybe local to you, new business owners, any of the little organizations like the chambers of commerce, or the places that provide local financing that aren't banks, right? Like the business development centers, any of those places are also great to kind of join and start going to networking events that they have in order to get in front of the people that you're trying to target, right? Which brings us to the next question. Where would new business owners go to find information about generating leads for their business? So if you are the new business owner and you're kind of stuck, you're going, okay, I have my business plan, but I don't know how to find all of the people who need painting services. Like, let's say we're starting a painting business, right? Where are you going as the person who runs that painting business trying to find new clients? So Christina says she's going to do a Google search. Go ahead and type it into the chat again. So lots of people are saying Google. And so as the new business owner, if you're not really super savvy on how to do SEO or how to rank on Google, or you don't really know how to run AdWords, where else are you going to do your research to try and figure out how you do this? Asking friends and family, Facebook groups. And one thing that nobody has said yet is YouTube, right? Lots of people are going to go on YouTube and they're going to type in how to generate leads for X, whatever business it is, right? YouTube is actually one of the higher ranking sites now because Google owns it in terms of content, because what Google has figured out is that people will watch videos more than they'll actually read written content or digital content that appears on most blogs, right? It's just a more accessible, and I guess for some people seems a little bit faster than having to kind of do that deeper level research of going and finding the blogs and finding the experts and kind of sifting through the weeds of what information is going to be helpful for them versus what information isn't. So in terms of finding the audience, if you're on YouTube and you're making just even quick videos, like a quick 5-step video, top 5 ways to transition in your career, or top 5 ways to generate leads for your painting business, there's a very good chance that if you couple that up with other content on your website, like a blog that literally expands on those 5 areas, you're going to be ranked higher in search, and people are going to start finding you organically without you having to spend a whole bunch of money. We're going to look at step 2, which is the offer. So what does somebody get for signing up, right? So this is a concept that most people think, oh, this is a breeze. I'm going to start my membership site and I'm going to have all of these amazing things that I'm going to package up and it's going to be great, right? But this is actually the first place where small business owners fail or trip, okay? And it's an interesting concept. It was an interesting thing for me even to learn, because I thought, well, why is it that this is such a challenge for somebody new to the membership group space? And then thinking back to my own experience when I was first starting the membership group, it's because a lot of us as human beings really want to over deliver, right? We really want to have the best experience for the people who are going to be paying us for a service or paying us to enter our group. And so to do that, we add a bunch of things into our membership group without actually really testing whether that's what our market wants. So put simply, where a lot of people make a misstep here is they offer too much without knowing exactly what their audience wants or needs or will actually use. They create complicated content as part of their offer, and that content requires upkeep. And it's not really sustainable for them in terms of their time constraints long term. So an example of this would be maybe your membership group has weekly videos, but then also there's an 8-hour long course that you're telling people to go through. And you're trying to tailor some of your group lives to the course content, but then things in that course content are changing. So then you're now having to go back in, update the course as these things change in the marketplace, and redo some of your workbooks or your slides or whatever it is that you're using for your live trainings. And very quickly, you're in this place of, you thought you had enough time to do all of the things that you offered in your membership group, but now you're just working around the clock trying to chase these updates and continually update your course materials, right? There's another one that says offer services that drain them of all of their time. So where an example of this one could be, each group member gets an hour of one-on-one training every single month. Well, that's great if your group only has 10 people, right? That's only 10 hours. But if your group grows and all of a sudden you've got 45, 60, 100 members, where are you getting those hours in your schedule to actually give those people that one-on-one hour of training? So I see Paula's got a question. Go ahead and unmute Paula and you can ask your question.
This is great information, because this is why I've been I'm not stuck in fear, just stuck in, oh, okay, there's more to this and it's not as simple as it looks. Something in some of the YouTube channels that I follow, and I'll have to admit, it's about tarot reading, because what else do you do? It's better than news some days, it's more entertaining. So what I've noticed the trend on there, and I don't know if it would correlate well with this, is because I'm about products and services, is a lot what they'll do is they'll give you a few minutes and say, okay, here's an overview. If you'd like to know more, go to here, subscribe to, pay, like, and they'll say in the box, there's a link to, and usually there's a fee if you choose, but so it's the nice of both worlds. So if you just want that quick overview, and for me, I'm like, that's kind of, when you were talking, like, that's kind of a wise way to do it, because you're giving that free content, but you're doing it all at one time. And so, like, you could say, pay the one-time fee and you can have access to it once, or pay a membership and you can come back anytime or refer back to this. Is that a wrong way of thinking of using that type of?
So this is what I call, it's a blended marketing strategy, right? And we are going to have, there's a whole slide on this as we get through the rest of the steps. So you're a little ahead of where we're at, but that's okay. I get why that question would have popped up now, because we're talking about the offer, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, we're going to get into this a little bit more deeply, but it is a good strategy to use. This is what I call a free training to paid offer, right? And basically, we'll go in through the differences that most people use to promote or to market their groups. In section 5. So when we get to step 5 of the training here, but it is a very smart strategy, and it's a great way to let people basically try before they buy, or get to know you before they actually have to commit to a purchase.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So basically, when we're looking at these offers and we're seeing these little missteps that businesses make, what does this mean for the health of their business? So it means that a lot of the time, there isn't a lot of time left in the schedule to create new content, to learn advertising, or to make new marketing materials that you'll need to help your group grow, right? If you're tied up with the day-to-day functioning of maybe doing all of the administrative work, new content, updating slides, updating everything that you have given, and you've over-delivered in your membership group, there's not a lot of time left to do the other things that are super important and necessary for that group to grow, right? This can also lead to subscribers undervaluing or canceling because they don't need or want a bunch of the things that you've packaged up into this group. Okay, and this is one that I see quite a lot. So in the industry, we call this churn, right? So you'll have a natural churn, which is kind of built in to a membership group cycle in a sense. If your goal is to help somebody solve a problem, naturally, when that problem is solved, unless you've got another group to put that person into, right? they're going to go away. They don't need the help anymore. And that should ultimately be part of the goal, right? Like you're trying to help people, you're trying to help them figure out how to solve this problem that they're having. Once that problem's solved, it's like, great, tell your friends who helped you. I'm happy for you. Here you go. Off you go, right? And so if you've packaged up, let's say, for example, so we're going to talk about, like, use the example of a photography training, okay? And maybe our membership group is just regular people like you and I who want to get better at using our digital cameras, right? Like I have a big old digital camera. I have no idea what all the buttons do or what the lenses do differently or any of that stuff. I'm like, ooh, I have this camera. It takes pretty pictures. That's basically what I know about it, okay? And so if I wanted to learn more and I come into this photography group and they're telling me all about video, and they're telling me all about how to do Instagram reels, well, that's not, like, it's kind of cool, but like, that's not what I came to the group for, right? I came to the group to learn the basics of DSLR cameras and maybe even the basics of how to make certain pictures look really cool, how to pose people, how to find, you know, angles that make everybody look amazing, that sort of thing, right? So if that's in the group, then there's a bunch of other stuff that's in the group that doesn't quite make sense for exactly what I thought I'd be getting. This creates subscriber confusion, right? And if what's also in the group is overwhelming in terms of I come into this membership group and there's this whole training library that's got maybe, you know, hours and hours and hours of video, and there's no clear path for me to follow to get to my end result, there's a good chance I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to try to figure out a path for myself, and then I'm going to get bored or frustrated and I'm going to cancel because I'm not getting the value, even though the content could be amazing and the value is there. Okay. So you want to be making sure that you're always thinking about, okay, well, what is the end user experience, right? The person who's actually paying me for the service, what is it like for them to come through the service? How do they navigate the things that they need to learn? And if they're confused, what is the course of action that they can take in order to narrow that confusion or in order to find the right path that's going to get them the most of the content that you're trying to serve up, right? The other thing is business owners start to burn out, right? Because they're struggling with maybe learning new tech, maybe trying to increase their tech skills if you're using something like Teachable and you can't figure out why your videos aren't playing correctly. Maybe you're also now kind of new to content delivery in this digital format, making videos of yourself or whatever. And all of this starts to kind of wear you down. Like what you got into your membership site for was the love of whatever it is that you intend to teach, right? Not all of this other like tech stuff and, you know, updating of administrative things. And so you start to get burnt out, and then you don't necessarily want to do the membership site anymore. And so I've seen this happen to a lot of small business owners who start the membership groups. And so what should you do instead? This is where we start talking about creating a minimum viable product. Okay. So a minimum viable product is a bare bones version of the membership site that you intend to offer to the public. Okay. It should provide just enough content so that people searching for the solution that you intend to offer find it. Also leave room for improvement or like 2.0 or 3.0 releases inside of your membership group. So ultimately, it allows the subscribers to have input or say into the direction that this group grows, right? And I just want you to think of your minimum viable product like a first draft rather of your membership group online, right? So interactive again, I'm going to ask you to type A, B, or C inside of the chat, and we'll go through what an offer could be, what an audience could be for one of these groups. So you will pick. A is a fitness and diet training group, B is networking for new business owners, and C is social media marketing training. So we've got a couple of A's, a couple of B's, a C, a couple of C's. We're all tied, of course. Okay, so B's and C's are tied. Oh, now we're all tied up again. Okay, A and B is tied. Okay. I'm going to go with A. I'm pretty sure we're tied up. So fitness and diet training. Okay. So if we're going through steps 1 through 3 here, we're going to want to answer the following questions. So what types of people are interested in fitness and diet training, right? Is it people who have recently had children? Is it people who, like, who do we want to serve is basically who we're trying to answer with this question, right? So do we want to serve, new moms? Do we want to serve people who have struggled with their weight all their lives and are looking to make a lasting change? Do we want to serve people who maybe have limited abilities, who haven't really thought, oh, I could do something more physical than, I've given myself credit for, and I want to see how far I can push? Who is it that we want to serve, and who is it that would be interested in this kind of offer, right? We need to answer that question. 2, where would we find those people online? So people who are into fitness and health, where are they? Are they on YouTube? Are they on Pinterest, pinning recipes, looking at fitness related things? These are the kinds of things that we need to learn. So start thinking about these things and try to answer a couple of these questions for me in the chat. Just write the number of the question that you're answering in front of your answer. So if you're doing 1, just 1, and whatever your answer is, 2, and whatever your answer might be, okay? Where can we find people who are interested in fitness and health in person, right? What would they be most interested in achieving as a result of work with us? And what content do we need in our membership group in order to help them achieve that goal, right? So Magda says, what types of people are interested in this? It could be people who want to lose the weight they've gained during lockdowns. That's a huge one right now, right? That is, lots of people's bodies are looking differently than they did before the pandemic started. And it's because it's been a stressful time, right? So lots of people's go-to during a stressful period of time is eating. It's comfort behavior, right? Trisha says, where can we find them online? You can find them in Facebook groups. We can absolutely find them in Facebook groups. We can also find them pinning recipes on Pinterest or workout plans on Pinterest. We can find them looking at YouTube videos. We can find them following certain influencers on Instagram. There's a variety of different places that they'll be. But what you might be seeing kind of emerge here is because we haven't been super specific about exactly who it is that we're trying to get in front of, it's a little more challenging for us to narrow down the answers to these 5 questions, right? So if we got a bit more specific about who it is exactly that we were trying to serve, these answers would become a little bit easier. So fitness and diet training in general, maybe it's fitness and diet training for women who wish to lose 50 pounds or more, right? Or maybe it's fitness and diet training for new moms. Or maybe it's fitness and diet training for people who have struggled with weight all their lives, right? Like we're getting very specific because that helps us not only find the audience, but also tailor the content in our group to that specific audience. Because obviously the person who's been an athlete their whole lives and is interested in, deepening their relationship with fitness and health is going to need different things than the person who has 50 plus pounds to lose, or the person who is differently abled, right? And so if we market our group to that first column, and really it's about losing 50 pounds and keeping that weight off, naturally the people who are, athletic, who have been athletic their whole lives, who don't have 50 pounds to lose, are not going to be super interested in that offer, right? So Chantal says, I'm in a fitness group for women veterans, and it's very specific, right? And that's the reality. You want to get as specific as you can without fully narrowing the niche to something that's just, a handful of people. And so we've done this here for the 3 options that we had by saying instead of fitness and diet training, we've got the 50 pounds, right? We've got lead generation for new service providers as opposed to lead generation for new businesses, because service providers versus physical product stores require different kinds of strategies and different attention, right? Social media marketing training for product-based businesses. That's another one, right? Like, so social media, if you have a service, is a lot different than if you're doing a business, right? So to Paula's earlier example of tarot, right? The tarot people can be offering both products and services. They can be offering a tarot reading. Also, they have their own tarot deck that you can buy in our e-commerce store. Also, maybe they sell t-shirts with their brand on it, right? So it's kind of a blended approach, but you're going to have different things that you're doing on your social media, depending on what you're pitching, what service or product you're trying to get people to buy, right? So we're looking at really here, what changes when we get a lot more specific, right? So same 5 questions. So then if we're looking at, health training for people who have 50 pounds to lose. Well, what types of people are interested in this? People who have 50 pounds to lose, right? Like, it's very simple. So where are we going to find the people who have 50 pounds to lose online, right? Well, those people are probably, if they're in market, or what we call like top of funnel, basically those people know that they have a problem. They know they're looking to resolve that problem, and they're starting to seek out resolution. So maybe they're looking at gyms, they're looking at online fitness things that they can join in order to start the process. They're looking for content about, how they can actually just even get started. Because if you imagine you have 50 pounds to lose, that's a large goal, right? So you could be thinking, if you're the person who's sitting in that position, who wants to change, who has that 50 pounds of extra weight hanging out on them, and who really doesn't know where to start. Like, do I start with my diet? Should I go out and get a treadmill? Like, where do I start? Of course, you're seeking content specific to you, right? So blog posts, YouTube channels, Instagram lives, anything like that that's going to basically speak directly to the type of person interested is going to be what starts to generate some interest in you, right? Where can we find those people in person? There's tons of people going to the gym when the gyms are open, and who don't feel welcome going to the gym when they have a larger amount of weight to lose, right? If you got kind of a situation at a gym where lots of the people going there are perfectly fit, right? Like, they're these hard bodies, beautiful people in your mind, it can be very intimidating to go into that environment when you feel not as good as you want to, right? And so you'll find them there, maybe approach them at the gym, but it's one of those things where you can find them. And if you're actually in those environments as well, you can strike up relationships with people who are in that kind of demographic that you're looking for. Naturally, what would they be most interested in achieving as a result of working with you? Well, why do they want to lose the weight? It could be for health reasons. It could be so that they feel like a healthier person, but it also largely comes down to self-esteem for a lot of people too, right? Like, people feel better when they feel like they like what they look like, right? And so if that's the end result, if the end result is heightened self-esteem and the added perks are kind of, I'm going to be healthier, I'm going to learn a little bit about healthier food options, or I'm going to learn how to work out and do certain exercises even properly so that I don't hurt myself, these are the kinds of results that people are looking for. It's never just about the fitness and health training. It's always about something personal. There's a personal reason behind every choice that we make, right? And then what content do we need to help them achieve that goal? Well, if it comes down to self-esteem, we know that that's a very tough nut to crack, right? We know that lots of people kind of live in their own head, right? Like, we're all having our own very personal experiences in our lives. And so you'll want to make sure that your content stays uplifting, right? You'll want to be sure that you're having people who have had these transitions, or who you've helped with these transitions, even if it's just you, right? Come and say, I remember when I started and I had this 50 pounds to lose, and how awkward I felt, how I bought this dress that was maybe a size less than what I was currently in, and I thought I'd never get into it. Like, those are the kinds of things that create that emotional draw, the impact, because you're showing the audience, I can relate. I get where you are right now, And I know what steps you need to take in order to get to where you want to be. And here's what it meant to me. You know, when I was 50 pounds heavier versus now, people would dismiss me. People wouldn't treat me the same way they treat me 50 pounds less. And I'm the same person, right, on the inside, but it's perception. People thought, oh, I don't need to talk to this person. And all of a sudden, 50 pounds later, people talk to me all the time, right? So like it's creating this kind of content that really drives to the emotional connection that you can make with this audience. Because like I just said, it's the emotional choice that often drives what we're doing. People who want to be successful want to be successful for a reason. People who, you know, want to go get a PhD, there's an emotional reason a lot of time pulling them toward that end goal, right? So ultimately, it just comes down to how do you create the content that really speaks to that end goal and really speaks to that emotion that is pulling them to want that goal, okay? Now, based on how we've answered as it relates to our fitness and health, now we should have an idea for our minimum viable product, right? So the minimum, like the absolute bare bones membership group for these people should basically feature other people just like them, because the idea is to create a community environment where it's safe, where people feel comfortable. So it's shared values or shared end goals, right? It should, so basically we're marketing to people just like them. We're gonna have some diet tips in there specific to, you know, losing some weight if your goal is 50 pounds, and not just losing the weight. It's not just start talking to these people about ways of eating, right? Like this is just a long-term transition that we're going to make. It's not a fad diet that we're doing for 6 weeks or 8 months and then falling off of. This is a new way of being in our lives. And then we're going to start to talk to them about moving our bodies, right? Like maybe 3 days a week, we need to do something that is more specific. And we're going to give them a plan for that 3 days a week. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or you pick your 3 days, this is the stuff that you need to do. Maybe there's going to be some videos that show them how to do it properly, right? Like the proper form, if they don't have money for weights, what they can be using instead. If there's resistance bands that you sell in your shop for cheap, you know what I mean? Or that people get as a result of joining your membership program. This is the kind of minimum viable product, right? And then you're going to put that product out in the universe, and you're going to see how it fares in terms of your marketing plan and everything else, which we're going to go through together. So before we jump forward to step 4, we want to go back and we kind of want to look at what's the offer. So the offer itself is what your members get in exchange for the price that they pay. So now that we know that our minimum viable product is what it is for our fitness and training group people, we need to kind of figure out, well, how much should we be charging? Oops, for this a month. I hit the wrong button. 1 second. How much should I be charging for this a month? Right? And so this was the button I was going to share, but there's a variety of strategies that businesses use in order to determine the price that they'd like to charge. And so when I click the variety of strategies button, it basically brings up this pricing strategy guide from Profitwell, and it goes through 7 different strategies for you, okay? But most of the time, the most common pricing strategy we see in membership groups is actually competitive pricing, okay? And so this is done by researching other similar offers that are currently in the marketplace and pricing similarly to those current offers. Right? So if we're staying with our fitness and training kind of idea, ultimately there's tons of online services right now where people can stream workouts. Are there tons of online services that will also give people proper meal plans and maybe access to a live coach every week and whatever else that you intend to offer as part of your minimum viable product? Probably not, right? So if you're looking at the sea of options in terms of, okay, so there's tons of things people can join to stream their workouts, including lots of gyms are offering this service right now, and they're charging like $50, $75, $100 a month, right? What am I giving? And where does that fit in the ecosystem of what is already in the marketplace? Okay. And then when we're talking about our pricing, we want to factor in a variety of other things, okay? And so ultimately, the cost of the software or platform fees that you'll be paying to host this membership group itself, the cost of advertising and marketing that you intend to do to generate new customers, the cost of any services that you intend to outsource if you're hiring a virtual assistant or a video editor or graphic designer to do some of your things for you. You'll want to kind of figure out how many paying members you need to cover your costs for all of those things. And then also you'll want to figure out how many paying members you need to actually make the profit that you're looking to make. And so a lot of the times when it comes to me kind of figuring out, okay, well, what do I need to charge for any membership group that I'm doing? I kind of factor in how many people I think I can get in quickly. So usually I give myself about a 3-month time frame if I'm starting a new membership group, right? So how many people do I think I can convert inside of the first 3 months realistically? Like, am I already in groups with these people? Do these people already like and trust me? Do I already have some marketing plans that I think would work well, or an idea for how I'm going to attract these people, right? And then I kind of figure out, okay, knowing where I'm starting with my budget, what platform is going to be the easiest for me to get started on and the lowest cost. So a lot of times when I'm starting a brand new group, it's going to sound ridiculous, but literally I use PayPal and Facebook. Okay. So if you sign up for your PayPal and you have to have a website. So traditionally, I have a website that I host on WordPress. It's very simple for me to make a landing page for a new membership site. And I just create a PayPal button that is going to charge people for that membership. Okay, so when people want to sign up, they go to this landing page. It explains what they get to be part of the membership group. They click the PayPal button. The PayPal button basically handles all of their subscription on an ongoing basis for me. And then once I see that notification come through PayPal, I personally have to invite that person to join my private Facebook group. Okay, and I do it this way because it keeps things a little bit more intimate. But I do it this way because I'm testing the market. Okay, I'm testing to see, okay, how many people will actually sign up for this? Is the course offering or the structure that I've got in this membership group what people like to pay for? And is this price point the right one? You know, I could be charging more than other people in the marketplace, and that's completely fine, provided that I'm providing more value, right? So you start to kind of think through some of these questions that you have in your head, and you come to a price point. So for me, a lot of the times I will do a beta test. I'll say to everybody, okay, the price of this membership is going to be eventually, let's say $50 a month. Okay. Right now I'm testing and we've got a minimum viable product. I'll say I've got, a bare bones site that has a lot of content that you are probably going to need to resolve the issue or the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay. And together over the next month or so, we're going to build this into something better. And when there's more content, the price will go up. And if you're telling people that right off the top, like once they've initially signed up, maybe even on your landing page, you're telling people this is the initial price. It is going to go up as the content increases and as the value of this membership group increases. People stay with you. They don't cry at the price going up because they recognize, oh, hey, I've had a hand in creating this and it's valuable to me. It's helping me in a lot of different ways, right? So these are just things to consider when we're talking about pricing and figuring out what people get for the price that they pay, okay? So I'm going to open it up right now for questions. If you have questions, feel free to either raise your hand if you're tech savvy enough to do that on Zoom, or just type them in the chat. And if not, I'll just keep going. I'll give it a couple seconds here to see if anyone's got questions about the content so far. Okay, Paula.
It's not so much my thought process is, I'm hearing you, is wise idea. My first thing was I already have a client base. So I've been chatting with them. I kind of do my research before I even come up with a product because I'm lazy and I don't want to do all the work. But would it be beneficial to team up with, because I'm pet related, would it be beneficial to team up with maybe a dog walker or someone who is, that's maybe a like-minded business that.
Oh, I think you froze, Paula.
Yeah, she froze on my end as well.
Okay. Okay, so I'll come back to Paula when you unfreeze. But for right now, I'll move on.
I think
to
she
Sean.
was getting at could you go collaboratively into a group? So maybe you want to answer that. I think that's probably the gist of that question.
Yeah,
And
so
then
absolutely. So it does make a lot of sense to team up. I'll put it this way. What I was going to ask Paula when she finished her question was what her intention was for her membership group. So is this dog training that you're trying to teach people? Is this pet nutrition? What is it exactly that the group is going to be? And as a result of that, whatever the answer would have been there, yes, it does make sense to collaborate. So if we're talking dog training, absolutely having a dog walker come in and kind of explain the certain breeds that need 3 or 4 walks a day and what kinds of walks they need to go on and that sort of thing is collaborative. And it's a great way for both the dog walker to pick up new business and for people to learn a lot from the person who's going to service their dog, right? Like if they work and they're out of the home and they have a husky like I do that has high energy, that dog needs to be walked as a puppy 3 to 4 times a day, right? So absolutely, it makes sense to partner up where those partnerships make strategic sense. So I'll move on to Chantal. Chantal, hello.
Hello, and thank you. This has been a great session, and the timing is perfect because I just ran a beta version of a live course and took video, and that video is being edited down into content chunks, which I want to put on a membership site. So the timing is perfect. And my question is, with my minimum viable offer, when I go out with that, there were some resources that I shared with my live group. Can I consider that still part of my minimum viable offer? They're extra things that I just feel help offer value to that minimum value offer.
Yeah, so I would say absolutely, especially if, as you've suggested, so you've done this training live and now it's being edited into, digestible bits that you can put up and you're going to offer to your membership group, right? I would say absolutely include any of those other little resources that you had in there, whether they're worksheets or whatever else, because you'll probably make reference to them in your live, right? And if you don't include them, people are going to be like, well, where is this thing, right? And I've seen this happen a lot of times, actually with course creators who are like, oh, well, that's not included. That was only for the live people. And it creates this kind of murky, muddy, bad customer experience. When really, if you just give them the thing, I'm a firm believer in you can never give them too much, okay? Lots of people think, oh, if I give away the freebie or the workbook or whatever for free as part of this membership, when I could be charging for that, I'm leaving myself kind of bare or in this position of not being able to charge. But the reality is, like, you're the expert. So as the expert in the area that you're trying to go into, just as well as I know, you can talk about anything for any amount of time. Like, there is always going to be more content in that area, right? So giving them something that's going to help them now is only going to serve them and serve you as the coach, because you're so giving, you're so open. And this is what I hear in a lot of my personal membership groups. People are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you give me all these things, but they have been with me for 3 years and their businesses probably don't even need a lot of the beginner level services or beginner level content that I have in my membership groups anymore, but they are with me. If I promote something new, they're out there telling all their friends, because I have over delivered so many times, because a lot of them are like, you're the only reason I have a business. And I'm like, no, you're the only reason you have a business. You have done the work, but they're so appreciative of the fact that you're the person that just really showed up to help, right? So absolutely include those things. And then I know, Carrie, you had a question, tips for transitioning from free groups to paid ones. Okay, so I say we don't necessarily transition. What I love about a free group is we kind of can pull people out of that free group into a paid model, but we never shut that free group down, okay? Because that is a great incubator. That is a great introduction to you as a brand, as a human being, to the community that this person is going to get when they have that paid offer. And so I say it's always great, and I actually practice what I preach here too in the groups that I admin as it relates to, Etsy or Amazon's merch program. Those are all free groups, right? Until basically I have a paid offer for them, and maybe there's a private paid group that they can be part of, right? And they're going to get that extra little bit of help. So I use those free groups as great incubators. They give me ideas for what people are looking for. They give me the opportunity to get in front of people and answer their questions. They give me the opportunity to grow the audience. I can run a little free challenge in there. It's like 5 days, not going to take a crazy amount of my time. And then have a little pitch to the next thing, which is my paid offer after that 5-day free challenge. And I can do that once a month. And I'm going to convert 40, 50, 60 people as long as, like, into my paid group, as long as the offer for my paid group makes a lot of sense based on what they're already seeing. So I love a free group for that. I love it when people have been in that free group for, months and asked questions, engaged, and still need help, right? Because those people are the ones that are like, yeah, now I'm willing to pay. Now I've seen what you've told me, and this is helpful. And now, like, I will pay you like $50 a month. That sounds great. Like, I'm going to go ask a coach, and a coach is going to charge me maybe $1,000 for a package, right? So I say we don't transition. We leave those free groups up, and we kind of just start plucking the right fruit over into the paid offers. And then the great thing is if people stay in both groups, once the people have experienced the paid groups, a lot of the time they come back into that group, that free group, and they sell your products for you, right? And it's a great experience when that happens, because it's way less work for you. Now it's not you having to tell people, it's people in the community saying, hey man, I started this paid thing, and that really helped me up my game, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I know Lola had a question, and Paul, I see you're back on. We actually answered your question, so you can watch the replay. We think we guessed at it, but for time, we're just going to fit Lola in here, and then we're going to move on, if that's okay with Dion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you answered part of my question, but I have a group and I don't have any interaction except 2 or 3 people. And the first one, it was dead, so I scrapped it. But the second one, I have 2 or 3 people talking. But besides that, I see them, but they don't say anything. It's as if they're just taken and they're not saying anything.
So you're having what I call is lurker problems. This is what I call this. Like we make little jokes about this, me and the other coaches, because we have lurkers too in some of our free groups that want to engage in the content, but they just don't feel either safe or comfortable or whatever it is enough to start engaging. And so when we see that there's a lot of lurkers, like how we can see this in our groups is if we go into Facebook, for instance, where we host a lot of our free groups, and we click that engagement tab and we see, oh, we have a group of 30,000 members and 12,000 members are engaging with the content, and we've got 6,000 comments over the course of the last month. Okay. Well, if there's 12,000 people engaging and there's 6,000 comments, there's technically probably around 3,000 people who are lurking, right? Who aren't saying anything, who are just engaging and they're looking at things. They're not commenting, they're not liking, but they're like clicking and paying attention. And so what we do is we try to bust through the lurker mentality a little bit by getting a bit more social. So we'll have literally a little social event inside of our group where we'll go, okay, we're going to get to know each other a little bit more. Join us, the coaches. And like, if there's any specific questions about us as human beings that you want to know, ask them in the chat and we'll get to those questions. And literally it becomes kind of like a Q&A about who we are. It becomes very relatable because we try to really steer the content towards whatever the group is designed to do. that free group, right? And it helps people to feel safe because then they're like, oh, you do weird things too. Oh, you're not this perfect person, this perfect coach, this, you know what I mean? Like people, generally speaking, will put you up on a pedestal. And I tell people all the time, it's one of the big things that when you're working with me as a coach, or you're working with me even in my membership site, it's one of the things I repeat on a regular basis. I do not want anyone to put me on a pedestal. I am not better than anyone. I am not smarter than anyone. I am not more deserving of a great business than anybody else inside of my group. Okay. All I am is somebody who's been doing it a little bit longer, who has made mistakes, who has learned from those mistakes, and who has been able to turn that process into lessons that I'm willing to share with the audience that's willing to let me teach them. Okay. And I repeat that on a regular basis because that stops people from having this expectation of you being perfect, right? I am not perfect. I show up in my groups without my makeup on, sometimes without my hair. I mean, I try to be as relatable as I can so that people see, oh, whatever it is that I'm teaching, she's a normal person actually. So if it's possible for her, it's also possible for me, right? And so when it comes to the lurking, usually there's two reasons that people are lurking.
Okay.
It's one, lack of confidence, like they don't feel comfortable enough or confident enough to actually ask the questions or engage in a group because they're afraid that, you know, maybe someone's going to say something mean to them, or they're not going to be accepted or brought in the same way, right? Shown the same level of respect. Or sometimes what you have is a situation where people are kind of not committed to whatever the issue is. Like they're in your group, but they're like only dabbling with the idea of solving this problem. They're not fully ready to actually get into the action of solving that problem, right? And so the first way, the social way, gets those lurkers that are kind of just not comfortable. It makes them feel more comfortable. It makes them see you as more relatable, as on their level. And then you'll see more engagement from those people. The other people who are just kind of dabbling with the problem, like you can actually address that too in a variety of different posts. Like, where are you at with this subject? So if the problem is you've got a membership group and you're teaching people how to grow plants at home, like how to take care of their house plants, which I would subscribe to because I'm gonna tell you, round thumbs, okay? But for real, like if that's what the group is and you're noticing that there's people lurking, well, maybe those people haven't even bought a plant yet, you know what I mean? Because they've had such brown thumbs in their life. They're like, oh, these plants are like $40. I don't want to spend $40 and kill a plant. You know what I mean? So you're going to talk to those people about, okay, I know there's some lurkers in here. I see what's happening. And I kind of just want to know, like, what is it that you're struggling with, right? Like, come out, don't be afraid. I know when I first started in plant momship, I killed a bunch of things that everyone said were impossible to kill, like bamboo. I literally killed bamboo. like, so it's one of those things, like you want to be relatable. So be like, don't feel ashamed, right? And it's inviting people into the conversation. Another tip is, on Etsy, of all places, there's a lot of these little engagement templates that you can buy for things like Instagram and Facebook, and they work wonders. They're specifically designed to generate engagement in your group, and they're completely editable. So it helps for you to be able to post those things and just up the engagement. Because sometimes what it is too is if a group is too quiet, nobody feels comfortable being the first person to break the silence. You know what I mean? Does that help, Lola?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, so we're going to go through the rest of this content. Step 4 is choosing the platform. So many folks online, or like gurus or teachers, will teach you there's only one way to run a successful membership group. And I'm just going to say it. Those people are dead wrong. Okay. There's a million different ways to run your group on your terms, how you want to run it and be successful. Okay. So some common ways that membership groups are run include using an e-commerce enabled page to process payments while the group is hosted on Facebook or Slack or Discord. And so I had suggested that earlier, where I said you definitely want a landing page that maybe links to a PayPal button. PayPal buttons do subscription services for you. And then maybe your group is just hosted on Facebook. Now, obviously, the caveat of this is that there is a lot more administration. It's not a seamless, oh, this person pays, now they're automatically invited into your group. But it can be, like, even with your PayPal buttons, when somebody pays on PayPal, they get a confirmation of that payment. You can edit what that confirmation says to include the link to your private Facebook group or your private Slack or whatever it might be, right? So there are ways to automate those sorts of things. Paul, I'm laughing at you. I love your dog right now. It's on your lap. So cute. So then there's also using third-party learning platforms like Teachable or Thinkific or Skillshare or Kajabi. Now, naturally, these ones come with subscription fees, right? And you have to make sure that these subscription fees work for the budget that you're starting with, right? So Kajabi, for instance, is like $199 a month, I think is their basic plan, and that's US. So you have to make sure that, like, if you're going with Kajabi, you have already people kind of waiting to sign up to this thing so that you're not out that money every single month just for the hosting platform, right? The other thing to bear in mind when you're choosing a platform is you have to learn this platform too. Unless you're super tech savvy, not all of these platforms are user-friendly or as user-friendly as they like to say they are. So there is a bit of a learning curve, and you're going to probably need some help either from tech support or by going into their help sections and figuring out how to really lay this stuff out, right? So you want to keep these things in mind when you're choosing your platform. There's another way to look at it too, which is running an ongoing or evergreen subscription versus running a point in time or limited time subscription, right? So people sometimes discount the ability to do the 6-month subscription groups, but I actually think that this is a much more sustainable model that helps you avoid churn, right? If you get people to commit to the 6 months, and it's charged out over a 6-month period of time. So that's the subscription element of it. But the commitment is like you're coming in for the 6 months, you know it's going to be $100 a month. By the end of it, you will have paid $600. And this is what you get in that 6 months. And then the program is turned off, right? Maybe you have the ability to download it onto your own computer, but it's turned off and it's going to restart again 5 months down the line. This is hugely successful as a way to kind of grow this membership or to run a membership group if you're the type of person that has different things that you do, right? So if you don't have the full time in your schedule to be able to really nurture a group on an ongoing basis, one of these limited time ways of running things could be just exactly what you need, and you're still going to have that loyal group that's growing, especially if you keep engaging with the group during those off periods, right? So that's another option. When it comes to choosing the best platform for your business model, you first need to know a couple of different things, right? So you need to know, do you plan for your content to be accessible to folks with different levels of ability? Right? Because not all of the platforms do this beautifully. So you'll want to research the platforms that you can add transcription, or you can add, you know, the other elements that you need for these differently abled folks to be able to enjoy your content the same way, right? You want to know basically whether you need the software to manage a member's access to certain things, or if you intend to manually do it. So if we're starting with that very basic PayPal button scenario to private Facebook group, you know, if you're going to have 25, 30 members, that's not a lot of administration. But once that group grows, like if you're trying to grow that into an ongoing membership site, and then now all of a sudden you've got 300 members or 500 members, you know, credit cards bounce because people forgot to update their little expiration date, you know, sometimes people cancel and just don't remove themselves from the group, hoping that you don't notice. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways that people can kind of stay in that situation. So you kind of want to know, is that something that you're going to be comfortable managing yourself on an ongoing basis? Or if it's not, at what level do you think it's necessary for you to move everybody from that private Facebook thing into a different platform so that it can be managed more effectively, right? Will there be breaks in your activity as you lead your group? How often will new content need to be delivered to your subscribers? And is that new content needing to be delivered live, or can you record it and release it later? Are you tech savvy enough to fix the problems that occur if you intend to maybe self-host, right? With a platform like LearnDash or MemberPress for WordPress. If you're using those kinds of things, you have to know how to fix things that break. You have to know how to troubleshoot when somebody's supposed to have access to a certain area with their subscription, and for some reason, right? And how much budget do you have to apply to the platform fees? Like, obviously, there are some platforms that are much more expensive and much more robust than others. But for a lot of us, especially when you're first starting out, you don't need the Kajabi. You don't need the thing that's going to do the ads and the retargeting and the automated emails and all of those other things. Like, you can start it with something much more simple and it can still work out really well for you. Okay. So here are some of my favorite platforms. And like I said earlier, I do share these slides at the end. All of these are linked directly, okay? Each of these platforms do different things. And I was gonna say, honestly, truthfully, if we wanted to talk about the different perks and benefits of the platforms, that could be a training in and of itself, because there's so many different offers and different levels of service on each of these different platforms that quite literally the one that's best for you is going to be very specific to your goals for your business, the level of tech savviness that you have, and kind of where you want to go, what kind of content you want. I mean, even Vimeo at this point has a subscription model service, which they help you manage. Right? So there's a whole set of different platforms. My advice to you is just to kind of click through some of these links. These are my favorites for good reason. I've tried a lot of them. And really just kind of see, okay, well, if you know you want to deliver live content, which one works for that? You know, which one also works for, you know, just putting up your video recordings and has a simple interface for both the users and yourself if you're not tech savvy, so that you can kind of play. A lot of these will actually let you have a free trial or a free account, so you can get in there and start to play around to see like how easy it's going to be for you to actually host on this platform. And that will largely inform your decision, okay? So I'm just gonna open it up for questions again, because we're getting close to the end. Any questions about that last bit of content? Nope, okay, perfect. And then the last part is the marketing, right? So the strategies you use to market your group will largely depend on the following things. A, how quickly you need to grow in order to have your expenses covered, how large the audience is that you intend to serve, the business model you're moving forward with, like ongoing subscriptions or limited time subscriptions that restart at a certain period of time, connections you've already made in the industries you serve, whether you intend to deliver your content live and how often. All of these things are going to basically determine how you move forward, right? Like with your marketing plan. And so if we look at, oh, and of course, your budget. Don't want to forget mentioning that one. So if we look at the different kinds of ways we market, these are kinds of this is what, to Paula's earlier question, I was kind of talking about. My slide is supposed to be bringing all these in. So we have the free webinar to offer, which is the most used marketing strategy that I see even today, used to kind of get people onto a membership or get people into an online course scenario. So what that is, you offer a free training. Usually it requires an advertising budget. Most of the times these things are advertised on Facebook or on YouTube. And then you need software to register the attendees who want to come to your free training. So you can use Eventbrite, or you can use some other kind of ticketing software for a free event, right? Software that can record your live training like Zoom, which is what we're using right now. And then a membership sign-up page to send attendees to at the end of the training that's actually going to charge them and give them access to whatever your paid offer is, okay? So this is the most used strategy. It does usually require an advertising budget for it to be effective. And also awareness of your targeting, awareness of, you know, how to build the correct audience for those ads that mean that you're not spending a whole bunch of budget getting in front of people who aren't interested in what you have to offer.
What made this guy kill the woman he liked? What kind of force drove him to crave human?
Somebody's unmuted. Okay, did we mute them? Okay. I gotta go backwards now.
Sorry, I had to find, I think it's taken care of, Dion. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, so my slide just went a little wonky on me. So the second one is the free group to offer, right? So if we look at one of my groups, one of the groups that I'm in is called the Etsy group. When we're doing what's called the Etsy challenge, we will be in that group a lot, kind of doing free content for people. In the meantime, when we're not doing the Etsy challenge, the group still exists. We're admins of that group, and we just pop in to answer questions that people have as it relates to selling on Etsy, okay? So this just requires time and effort to create content that interests people in that group. Once you kind of tip the scales a little bit in terms of membership, so in this particular group, I think there's like over 2,300 members. At that point, the group almost kind of navigates, right? Like the questions are asked, the questions are answered. The rules are very clear because we've already set the path to people. Don't be jerks. And you know, we only have to come in to really moderate. Like we're not having to create the content ourselves as often as we were when that group was initially in its infancy. But that being said, it does require a fair amount of time and effort to create that content in the very beginning, right? You either want to have it on Facebook or on Discord, Slack, depends on, you know, what your target audience is most used to kind of engaging on. And then of course, you still do need a membership sign up page to send them to when you have a paid thing to pitch, right? So as an example here, we have the free group to offer. So I have the Etsy group, and I'm also an admin on another larger Etsy group, which has like 30,000 members in it. And so when we're running the Etsy challenge, what will happen is I will have a landing page set up with a different kind of software, like we use lead pages for the landing page on the Etsy challenge. And basically we'll go in that group, we'll be doing free content for them while that challenge is open. And at the end of every bit of that free content, we're like, the challenge starts this day to that day. The last day to get in is this, here's what you get for that. Here is the link to the landing page, go now and sign up, right? And that works really well. People enjoy getting the free content. They get to see what the kind of teaching is going to be and whether that's going to work for them. And then they get to decide from there whether they're in or they're out as it relates to the paid offer that we have, right? Another strategy is a 5-day training to offer. So this is what I'm kind of talking about the Etsy challenge. We do a free 5 days of trainings or videos. And then basically we offer our paid service, right? And then there's a paid event to group offer. And so this is what you'll see when you see groups online of coaches together, like doing a summit of some form, and it's a bunch of different people. And basically you're paying maybe, I don't know, $29 because it's an online summit. So you're paying $29 and you get access to all 2 days of their summit, like all the videos, all the courses of that 2 days. But if you want access after that 2 days, you have to join some sort of group, right? Like whether it's a membership group or whether you have to buy, you know, like the actual course package, and then that's going to give you access forever to all of the trainings that you saw during that 2 days. That's a paid event to group offer. Okay, so these are the most common ways that folks really drive traffic to their membership groups. You'll notice there's a couple things that we have in common here is that there's some sort of training or freebie or interesting nugget that you're dangling in front of people, that you're giving value before you ask them to buy from you. You're not just kind of going cold into the audience and being like, hey, I don't know you guys, who wants to give me $50, right? So we just want to remember that when we're talking about marketing. And so naturally, the best strategies for getting members quickly are the free webinar to offer or the 5-day training to offer. I find it's very easy to convert even cold audiences using those strategies because they get to see you on that live webinar. They get to hear your energy, hear and kind of experience the level of training that they're going to get. And then they're well informed based on that initial training as to whether the next thing that you're having to offer paid is going to be worthwhile for them, right? And so that works really well for those two. For slow and steady growth, I think the free group to offer is a great one. And again, the 5-day training to offer is another good one. Whichever strategy you use, you always want to make sure that you're under promising and over delivering. Because it's really the worst experience in the world when you waste somebody else's time. And so I've been on this a lot of times where I've signed up to a training because like I'm somebody who loves to learn. And even if it's something I think I already know, I'm like, ooh, maybe somebody has a different way of doing it that I don't know yet. So I will just sign up to like all these trainings, and usually I'll just leave them kind of playing. If it's something especially that I already kind of know, I'll leave it playing while I'm doing other work. But then if I sign up to that training and you spend the first 30 minutes of that training talking about nothing, talking about yourself, being like, oh, hi, so-and-so, it's nice to see you. Like, you're wasting my time. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's a time and place for that, like maybe the first 5 minutes of greeting people and making sure everyone feels welcome. But if we're having an hour and you told me to get me to sign up that I'm going to learn something valuable in that hour, and then you spend the first 30 minutes chit-chatting and kind of talking around the bush, not really teaching me anything, and then you spend the next 20 minutes pitching me on whatever your offer is, I didn't get anything. I wasted my time on that call. Right. And so you want to be cognizant of that. I know there are a lot of coaches out there that teach that this is the way to do it, but it's not. If you're going to present yourself as the expert or as the person who has the solution to whatever problem that you're trying to solve in the marketplace, give them tips about that solution. You know what I mean? Give them some sort of actionable nugget that is going to make them feel like they spent time with you and it was valuable. Right? Because otherwise you're not really serving your audience, and you can't really expect, based on not serving the audience, them to trust you enough to actually give you their money, right? So here we are again. Are there questions? We've got a few minutes left.
There were 2 questions, Dion, that came up that I'll signal. Firuze had a question, so I want to go back up to it. And it is, can you mention the plugins for WordPress? I think you mentioned them, and then she was wondering about those today, and then I'll go on to Sherry's question.
Yep. So Firuze, it is LearnDash is one of them, and MemberPress is one of them. I personally like LearnDash over MemberPress just because I find it's a little less buggy, but those are the 2 major ones for WordPress.
Thank you. And if anybody knows those, I know Elizabeth mentioned WordDash, so I don't know if somebody wants to put a link into the chat. I'm not familiar with them as much. Sherry also asked, how many hours each week would you expect to spend time developing and maintaining these group building platforms?
So this is a great question. I'm glad that you asked it. So for me, I'm a multifaceted person. I do a lot of things. So just to give you an idea, okay, I run a print shop currently. I have a variety of different e-commerce stores, actually 4 running right now that sell different kinds of products. I show up to these kinds of events where I teach other people what I know about membership sites and online courses. During certain parts of the year, I also run limited time subscription-based courses. And for the whole year, I run this group called Ready, Aim, Scale. Separately, I also find time to do people's websites and branding consultation. Okay, so how do I have time to do all of those things and also run my online like coaching group? Okay, I have partners, right? So one of those ways is having partners who are equally as knowledgeable about the subject areas that you are trying to get into, and kind of splitting profits, right? So for my one group, Ready, Aim, Scale, I teach e-commerce, but I teach e-commerce at a very basic level. So we're talking things like Kindle Direct Publishing, Amazon Merch, or Merch by Amazon, and beginning stages of Etsy and Shopify, right? And so basically I have coaches that will show up when I can't show up, deliver content, answer questions, that sort of thing. And we all just commit, and we spend probably about, I would say, 2 to 3 hours a week in our group answering questions, making sure that we are present, and another probably 4 hours a week developing or discussing content and then creating that content for those group members. Okay. In a group like Ready, Aim, Scale, I believe we have over 400 paying members, I think. And basically, sometimes we're in a place of churn, which we are right now. Like at one point, I think at the height, we had over 1,000 people in there, and it slowly started to dwindle where we haven't been putting as much content inside of that platform, right? But at the end of the day, we still have those loyal 400 people paying whatever subscription price we've asked for. And as we get more content in there again, those numbers will continue to grow, right? So I think the question really kind of comes down to you. How much time do you personally have to apply to your membership? And what are you hoping to get out of it in exchange for that amount of time, right? So for me to have like roughly, let's call it 10 hours a week that I dedicate here and there over the course of my day to my membership site, that is like what I get out of that membership site in terms of profit is amazing for that amount of commitment. You know what I mean? But the reason that works so well is because, like I said, I do have partners. So everyone's kind of in there, and it lightens that load quite a bit. If you're looking to replace a full-time income, you have to be willing to kind of put full-time effort into your membership site, right? So you're looking at closer to maybe 20 hours, 30 hours of engaging in the group, creating the content, making sure that everybody's okay, handling your administrative stuff, making sure things are secure, right? As your group grows and the profit is there, you might be able to outsource a lot of that stuff. But in the beginning, it's going to be some heavy lifting. Okay, so I hope that answers your question.
And Paula had her hand up as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paula. You can unmute. There.
Yeah. Hi. Bleh. Sorry, I got distracted by the dogs. When I initially signed up for my service provider for my website, I did a lot of research on what the possibilities, because I'm lazy and I don't want to try to add in. So I actually use Wix, and with their online shop feature is it has a membership. And I haven't explored it fully, but it intrigued me because I thought, just to captivate the people that have already bought from me, to say, because you can give them badges, different things. But I thought that would be, maybe I'm wrong, a nice way to introduce different things. Just sort of because it's already tied into a fee that I've already paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know. And something also that I've learned out of a few, and it was a nutrition, because unlike everyone else. And what I found was really interesting is that I find that people are so focused on their topic. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to learn from, so focused on their topic, they're not listening. And I found it was really, because for me, it was a nutrition, fitness, that was great. And I said, hey, I'm recovering anorexic. My issue is not about reducing how much I eat.
Right.
So it's just like how to, so just trying to stay mindful. But do you think that's a good option in the Wix to start with that subscriber base that I already possibly have as sort of a bonus, like you've bought from me? So, yeah. Hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. So honestly, I have never used the Wix subscription service because I've always just either self-hosted. So I can't really speak to whether that's a great service or not. Yeah. What I would suggest for you to do is honestly just like, if there's a trial, which normally there is, especially if
it comes all part of it.
Oh, okay.
It's already there.
Playing around with it, like tinkering with it, seeing how it works, and then assessing from there whether it's going to do what you need it to do or do what you want it to do based on, the minimum viable product and the offer that you intend to bring into the marketplace. If it is, absolutely go for it, right? Like you don't have to use one of the ones that I say are my favorites. If that's what's going to work for you, amazing. And if it's going to keep it easy because you already know that platform, even better.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing because I'll check out those platforms is you can add HTML plugins.
Absolutely.
So should be able just to add it in as just to keep it as simple as possible.